Okay, I'd like to open the meeting of the Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission. Bring it to order. Roll call. Start on my left.
Polly Boardman.
Doug Doolittle.
Stephanie Chen. Darla Lee.
Chris Nensel.
Great. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I do not have any public comment slips. Is there anybody here for public comments? Seeing none. Move on to approval of the agenda for the Open Space and Regional Park Commission meeting of June 4th.
Polly Boardman, I approve the agenda for today.
I'll second.
There's a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Item 5, approval of minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of May 7th, 2019.
Chris Nensel, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. Item 6, acknowledgement and recognition of park operations staff for their outstanding service and contributions to Washoe County. Are there any staff to be recognized this month? None. In that case, we'll recognize everybody. Thank you for serving. Item 7, Eagle Scout presentation. None. Item 8, presentation by Carly Borchard on Verdi Barnwood project at Crystal Peak Park.
Good afternoon, Chair Doolittle, commissioners, and staff. Colleen Wallace-Barnum, for the record, Parks Operations Superintendent. I'd like to introduce Carly Borchardt. She is with the Verdi Community Council, and she approached us about a year ago with this concept and idea, and I'm going to let her do the presentation, but it's a really neat project, and I thought it would be just a good thing to bring before Park Commission to just make sure you guys are aware of what we're doing out there. Okay, Carly, it's all yours.
Thank you so much for your guys' time today. What this is a development that has transpired in the Verdi area. The property was Washoe County. It has since been annexed to the city of Reno, and they are doing a massive development on this site. This barn that we were referring to, I wanted to be able to bring you just a couple pictures to put to light kind of where this came from and where we're going with it. But this original barn is over 100 years old. I'm going to be actually working with the Verdi History Center to get some very specific history and facts on this barn. But it was very devastating when this barn was being torn down for the community. You know, I've personally been in Verdi my whole life, been born and raised out there. So this was just kind of one of those landmarks that you had your whole life. So to see it being dismantled and taken down was rather heart-wrenching for the whole community. So the gentleman that was hired to take it down and dismantle it was not being compensated. He was just being compensated by the wood. So the owner of the property and the gentleman that was dismantling it reached out to us, the Verdi Community Council, and wished to understand what the community might want to see with the barnwood. So we went through kind of a survey, spoke with a lot of different neighbors and got some great feedback and ideas. And what ended up kind of coming to fruition was having the gentleman that was dismantling the barn actually saving some of that barnwood for us and being able to build a replica. So obviously you need a spot to put that replica, and I think everybody was really hoping that we could do it at Crystal Peak Park. So that's when I reached out to Colleen, and through her and her staff, we've toured the site several times and believe this to be a really nice contribution to the park. So I wanted to, I don't know how familiar you all are with Verdi, but I wanted to show you a picture of the barn prior to dismantling This is a picture from inside the barn, right before it was taken down. That's the barn actually being dismantled, taking apart the roof and bringing it down. And then this is the location that we would like to move it to, the Crystal Peak Park, which is just down the road. This is the entrance. It's a really well-maintained, very beautiful park that everybody truly uses and utilizes for barbecues and special events and really just walking pets and visiting every day. But here's a couple of the sitting areas and walking areas. Views right there on the river. I mean, you can actually, this is where we used to put in the rafts and raft the river during the summer. And then we also have the ponds, the fishing ponds that have been installed for several years. I'm not exactly sure the year they got put in, but they are quite the destination for a lot of fishermen, local fishermen. And this is the site that we would like to put the barn replica. As you can see, there's not going to be a whole lot of grading that would need to be taken place. The community has really come out in support of this project, including businesses wanting to contribute to everything from foundation to materials to labor to build it, all the way through. So that's where we are. We have our complete plans that are structurally engineered and going through the Washoe County processes here very shortly. I wanted to put in this isn't exactly what it's going to look like, but just to have a little bit of a visual of what we're after. It's just a little gazebo. It's not going to be a huge, massive structure with walls and all of that. It's just going to be using some of the original barn wood and having a new roof and making sure that it's completely stable and up to standards. There's just another picture of what we would like to see. And that's it. I just kind of wanted you to have a little bit of a visual and explain what we're doing, as this would be a contribution to the park.
For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Parks Operations Superintendent. The other thing we discussed with Carly and her group with the Verdi Community Council is maybe creating an interpreter panel that would maybe go through some of the history. So as she works with the Verdi History Center, Barbara Ting is actually still active with that group, and she helped with a lot of the interpreter panels that are existing out there along the river and that were part of that Verdi Pond project. And Barbara would be helping kind of create maybe or get some history for us so we could get an interpreter panel to really let the community know how important that barn was and that structure is actually part of it. So just want to make sure we brought this to you.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions?
Questions?
I guess I have two questions. So my first question is I'm looking at a satellite map of the park, and I'm curious what part of the park. I couldn't tell from the photo. Can you tell me which part of the park you're planning on building a structure in?
So it would be, if you're in the parking lot of the park, there's a bridge that goes underneath Old Highway 40. And then it's going to be on that side where the ponds are and the river access is. And there's a couple of picnic tables in there and some large pine trees.
Are you familiar with the cookie ride?
Yes,
Is it where the cookie ride ends?
yes,
Okay, then I know where it is.
yes,
Thank you.
exactly. Yep.
The other question I have is was there any plans to make the recreation of the barn a historical monument? Or is that possible to preserve it and or get additional funds from other sources?
Potentially, and that is why Barbara Ting and I are actually meeting this Saturday with her board, just to understand some of what they would desire, and that would be on them, to be completely honest with you. That would not be something that the Verdi Community Council would do, but I know that she is very advocate on making some of those historic landmarks, and I would love to see something like that. So we would have to research the processes and potentially go that route.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great question, thank you.
Other questions?
So this is essentially a shelter house then?
Correct. It could be, it's just going to be and it's much smaller than the existing barn. So
Right,
it'll
right.
just be a small portion of that. And, if you look through, I'm not sure if there's a printout of but there should be some dimensions on that engineered stamp drawing that actually show size of that structure. Maybe Carly, you could maybe mention that size.
Yes, I was going to ask what the footprint is.
I believe it's 6 by 10, but let me just verify that. Yeah. 8 by 10, excuse me.
8 by 10.
Yeah.
And it's an open-walled gazebo.
It is, yes. Once we really get into some of the structure, it didn't make sense to build into it. This is really just supposed to be a freestanding gazebo that people can have events under or whatnot. It's not going to have any built-in walls or enclosures or furniture or anything like that.
And what elements of it are going to be comprised of the historical barnwood?
That would be really the exterior. It looks like I wish I had a bigger version of this. I would really hope to do that. But it looks like it's really going to be the facade. It's not going to be the actual structural materials. So we will have structural beams. And then all of the hardware will be brand new. It's really just going to be some of the outside wood and around the top of the barn, is my understanding. I can certainly find out more details and get a better visual that I can email you guys, and would be happy to do so if that would.
And it appears like it's a metal roof?
He did mention that he's got all of the materials that he could rebuild the roof off of. Some of those materials do come from the original barn, but that roof was very well done. So, meaning that it was kaput. It couldn't structurally handle anything more. So anything that we're using from the barn is really just truly for visual purposes, if you will. None of it's actually part of the physical structure holding it up.
My only comment, really, after the questions is the visual impact is going to be significant as you come through the tunnel and open up into the open space area by the ponds. The wood, the coloring, if it's a metal roof, it should blend with what's already existing in there as much as possible.
Agreed. And I did take the liberty, to be honest with you, to go to the neighbors, that this would actually impact, the people that visually see the park in this specific site. And honestly, I got nothing but positive feedback that they would love to see it.
Any other questions? Great project.
Thank
Really
you.
great project. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
bringing it to us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This was not an action item, so. All right, item 9, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for approval of an easement agreement and easement deed between Washoe County and Spanish Springs Associates LP for a slope and temporary construction easement totaling 14,717 square feet on EPN 532-09112.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair Doolittle, Commissioners, staff. My name is Sophia Kirschenman, Park Planner with Washoe County for the record. This item is a presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for approval of an easement agreement and easement deed between Washoe County and Spanish Springs Associates LP. In 2016, Spanish Springs Associates LP donated roughly 5 acres of land to Washoe County adjacent to Gator Swamp Park. This land was given to the county to eventually be built out to expand the existing park. Gator Swamp Park, as you can see, is located west of Pyramid Highway on Egyptian Drive in Spanish Springs. Later that year, in 2016, a 61-lot single-family residential subdivision was approved in the parcel to the west or to the left of the area donated, so to the west of that sort of area depicted in yellow there. And then this last year, as Spanish Springs Associates were preparing their plans, their engineer realized that there are some sinks and some dips in the land that they had donated to the county, and that area would need to be refortified to provide lateral support to the proposed subdivision. So basically, they realized that they would need to access the area that they had just given to the county. What they are proposing is to grade the slope easement area, pictured here by the diagonal lines, to a consistent 3-to-1 slope. This would both provide lateral support for the proposed subdivision and would also prepare the area for future park improvements. Washoe County would likely have needed to grade this area prior to implementing any sort of park build-out. Specifically, this item is to approve a slope and temporary construction easement. The slope easement would give Spanish Springs Associates and their assigns access to the slope easement area for the purposes of constructing, building, repairing, and maintaining the slope in perpetuity. The temporary construction easement would give them access across Washoe County property to the slope easement area just for the purposes of constructing the slope. That temporary construction easement would expire within 9 months from the date of approval or the date of recording the easement deed in the office of the Washoe County Recorder, or upon completion of the slope easement improvements, whichever of those occurs first. The agreement also clearly states that the slope easement area can still be used for future park improvements, so long as those improvements don't compromise the structural integrity of the slope. Staff finds that this proposed easement is consistent with the Washoe County Parkland easement policy, as it is complementary with other existing and planned uses for the subject site. After thorough discussion and consideration, staff is recommending approval, or recommending that the park commissioners recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners. A possible motion is located on the slide above or on page 2 of your staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Great. Questions? Comment, the slope's going into the park, right?
Yes.
The annexed prop, I mean, where the homes are going to be, it's going to be higher.
Right.
At the southern point, what's the height difference there? Down
What's
the
the
bottom.
height of the existing, or?
Yeah, how much of a slope is that? Is that, you said 3 to 1, so it's going to be a consistent 3 to 1 across that whole area?
Right.
Okay.
And right now, I went out and visited the site, and it's not an incredibly sloped area. There are just some kind of sinks. It's just a little bit inconsistent.
Dealing with drainage off that site onto the park, is there going to be a swale at the bottom and drainage?
At this point, I'm not sure,
Considered?
but I could confirm that with Spanish Springs Associates. I would assume so, but I can't confirm.
And lastly, that will be bare land. Is it going to be treated in any way to eliminate dust and eliminate erosion?
At this point, I don't know if you have any more information about this. Maybe Eric will answer those questions.
For the record, Eric Crump with the Washoe County's Community Services Department. So pursuant to the grading permit that would be issued for this, they would be responsible for all the B&Bs, dust abatement, stormwater, that type of thing, all the standard requirements with the grading permit.
Okay. Any other questions?
Chris Nenzel. So again, I'm looking at the satellite view on Google Maps, sorry, but I do these things so I kind of have a better idea of
No, of course.
what I'm looking at. Are you talking about essentially grading the area to the west and north that is labeled Sand Dune Drive to that side of the park?
There is sort of a road that goes right up in there. They'll just be crossing over that road. So this actually map is a little bit confusing because that bottom portion is just the access, the temporary access easement portion of the site. The slope doesn't actually go out into that road. That just shows the full area that they will be accessing to construct the slope.
So the shaded portion in the slide you have currently up is entirely contained within Gator Swamp Park?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so. It's what is proposed to be added to the existing park. It hasn't been built out. The built-out portion is sort of to the east of this.
Oh, I see. All right. That's the end of my questions then. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll go ahead and move to recommend the Board of County Commissioners approval of an easement agreement and easement deed between Washoe County and Spanish Springs Associates LP for the slope and temporary construction easement totaling plus or minus 14,717 square feet on APN 532, 9112.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion and a second. Any further questions? Public comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next presentation, please.
Item 10, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to Community Services Department staff to negotiate an agreement to exchange Washoe County land, a portion of APN 038-131, for land owned by the Riverbend Mobile Home Park and Storage LLC. Continue on.
All right, I will. Sophia Kirschenman, Park Planner with Washoe County, for the record. This item is an unsolicited proposal received by the Riverbend Mobile Home Park and Storage LLC, which I will refer to henceforth as the applicant, for a potential boundary line adjustment between Washoe County property and the applicant's adjacent property. These properties are located between the old US Highway 40 and the Truckee River in Verdi. Today, I'm going to explain the applicant's proposal, and what staff are hoping to get from the park commissioners is feedback about whether you are supportive of this concept and would like us to move forward with conducting the necessary due diligence, so evaluation, negotiation, and agreements to execute a boundary line adjustment. We're also looking for feedback about whether there are any particular parts of this proposal that you support or disagree with, and what you would like to be incorporated into the actual agreement. If we move forward, we would bring the final agreement back to you for review and ultimately to the Board of County Commissioners for final approval. Washoe County acquired APN 038-10034, also known as the Riverbend property, in 2011. The Riverbend property is shown in sort of the upper right-hand corner or portion of this photo. The applicant's property is most of the land that's located below that sort of horizontal access road. The Riverbend property was acquired utilizing SQ1 and WC1 bond funds. Properties acquired utilizing SQ1 funds must be used for the protection and enhancement of wildlife, protecting sensitive habitat, vegetation, riparian corridors, and other environmental, cultural, and historic resources. When the Riverbend property was acquired, the county entered into a non-revocable agreement with the state of Nevada, limiting the uses or restricting the uses of the Riverbend property to trailhead access amenities and open space only, as the property was specifically acquired for hiking, biking, and river access. If Washoe County were to move forward with executing this boundary line adjustment, we would need to amend this agreement, this non-revocable agreement, with the state of Nevada. It's a little bit small here, but the picture on the left in yellow is showing Washoe County's Riverbend property. To the right of that, in turquoise, is the applicant's property, and there's a really small little portion in the bottom right-hand corner of that photo that is owned by the Truckee Meadows Water Authority. At present, there is a walking path along the Riverbend property, sort of along the river side of that property. You can see a little bit of a hint of that in this picture on the left. However, there really aren't any trails that link that path to the road, so staff speculates that that path has primarily been used by people living in the parcels to the east and west of this property. Additionally, these slopes leading from the Riverbend property down to the river are relatively steep, making river and fishing access quite difficult. So the applicant is proposing a boundary line adjustment. In effect, Washoe County would be swapping the inland portion of the Riverbend property for the riverfront portion of the applicant's property. The applicant would gain roughly 6 additional acres, while Washoe County would gain additional riverfront access and riverfront property, but would lose the acreage. As I mentioned before, these slopes on Washoe County's current property are relatively steep, making river access difficult. The riverfront property that the county would gain through this potential boundary line adjustment is much flatter, making river access a more viable option. Washoe County would also be able to extend the length of the existing path, thereby improving the user experience for hikers and bikers, and could potentially even put in a parking lot on the eastern edge in the future, thereby opening up this area to the general public and providing kind of a wider option for more people. Additionally, the applicant has also suggested that they would be willing to have both of the resulting properties appraised and to potentially pay the county the difference should the applicant's resulting property be valued higher than the county's resulting property. This funding could then be used for future park acquisitions or future park improvements within this park district. At this point, staff are generally supportive of this in concept and recommend that the park commissioners provide any feedback that would be helpful moving forward. And if you agree and would like us to move forward with conducting the necessary due diligence, a possible motion is located above or on pages 3 to 4 of the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer questions, and I'd also like to note that there are several representatives from the Riverbend Mobile Home Park and Storage LLC here today, and they are available to answer questions as well.
Open it up to the commission.
Oh,
Go ahead.
actually, they have a brief presentation as well.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Mark Bruce. I am representing the applicant today. And here with me is Rob Fitzgerald, and Rob is the manager of the applicant. And I just wanted to stress a little bit on the benefits that the county would be receiving with respect to this project. The project basically would create a BLA, a new boundary line adjustment. The county would receive the land closer to the river. We would receive the balance of the property. My understanding is that the county generally is looking for more riverfront property for parks purposes, looking for greater access to the river for park purposes, and looking for greater recreational potentials on the river as well. This project would do all of those things. In addition, the project wouldn't cost the county anything. We would take care of the costs with respect to the project. The applicant is a longstanding developer in town, seasoned developer. He knows and understands what this project will require and what will be needed in order to make it happen efficiently and effectively, and has been someone that I've worked with for many, many years. I think, as staff mentioned, if the appraisals vary, we will, and if the appraisals indicate that the value is greater for the applicant will make up the difference to the county. That we try to figure something out during the course of the negotiation on that, because we don't really know any of those specifics until we get an appraiser and make that happen. The way I see this, and I am involved in a lot of projects that are similar to this. We're looking for a win-win situation. We're looking to really work with the county in good faith. This would not be the first BLA that my client has been involved in with a government agency in Nevada. A past project went very well and was something that was received very well by the state. So there's a track record here, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have with respect to the application. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions?
Yeah, Polly Boardman. Has the land that Washoe County owns ever been used for anything else? You know, not just the little trail, but have we used it for anything?
Sophie Kirschman, Park Planner of Washoe County, for the record. At present, there is a right of entry that the Truckee Meadows Water Authority had solicited. I think that there is a consultant working with them. So they are currently utilizing the property. As far as I'm aware, that's the only other use. But Eric might have more information.
For the record, Eric Crump with Washington Community Services Department. Yeah, there hasn't been any development. There's actually a large easement for a sewer line that runs through there. And currently it's being used by S&C in connection with a project, a temporary project that they're doing to bring a water line under the Truckee River, contracted by Tumwa. So temporary uses in nature, but there's been no development that we're aware of.
Okay. And then is there any reason why the riverbank isn't desirable for the applicant? I mean, is it hard to maintain? Is there any flooding issues, anything like that?
Certainly, I think, they're looking for developable land the farther away, but, somewhat close to the river is desirable for the applicant. And they can certainly answer that question from us. This particular parcel, as indicated earlier, has very steep banks. It is possible to get down to the river, but it's not easy. And it's potentially using private property through a drainage that is associated with the home development that's to the west of this property. So this would really open it up and allow the community to enjoy the river.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
I guess I'll just make a comment. In looking at this, I think this is kind of a neutral thing for the county. I don't see, given the steepness of the bank along the river there, I don't see what the county's going to gain, but you're not really going to lose anything either, because the land that you'll be trading isn't being used and doesn't really have, has essentially the same or worse river access anyway. So I'm kind of ambivalent to the whole thing.
And
Unless I'm missing something, and feel free to correct me if I am, Mr. Crowe.
If I may, yeah, so the steepness of the bank, actually, if you're going downstream from our parcel, continues to stay steep, but as you get around the bend, it's actually fairly flat. That's where a potential parking lot would be.
You mean
and
around
then
the
as
bend
you're,
to the east?
and then you'd be heading upriver from there.
Right, and again, I'm staring at Google Maps, which I do a lot when we're doing these things, so I see that there are cars parked essentially at what would be the easternmost trailhead in the satellite view. So, and I think I've seen cars there when I've ridden my bike there. That's where a lot of guys get out and go fishing, if I recall correctly.
That is correct, yes.
Erica, that area is still a very passive use area, isn't it? It never got any development at all in the way of trails or anything else.
Correct, yeah, since we acquired it, we have not done anything. So everything that's on site has just been through social use.
And your thought that downriver, you might potentially at some point in the future, if the funding was available, develop a pathway, a parking node, something that would accommodate the fishermen and river users?
Yeah, I think, so basically what this would allow would be easy access from Old Highway 40 to some type of parking node. This is all in concept. And then kind of a nice linear park trail along the river. So if you just looked at our parcel without that, we're basically landlocked. We have a private development to the west and a private development to the east and nowhere to go.
Right.
So this allows access from a public road along a fairly decent, nice stretch of river. The river bend, it's a once you get around the bend and past the Tumwa Dam, it's a nice big open, flat water pool that I could see a lot of people enjoying.
And I haven't looked at that property for a long time, but is there any development going on the south side of the river? South of that?
The south side of the river is actually owned by Washoe County.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last question I would have is related to SQ1. I assume you've already talked to the state or will be talking to the state.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have been working with Charlie Donahue with State Lands, and State Lands has looked at this, and they, by the way, are the same group that we did the last BLA with, and are very supportive of what we did previously. We had a very good win-win situation with that project, and Mr. Donahue called to tell me today that he's on board with respect to this, and he told me that I could mention to you that he's very supportive, especially with respect to the fact that we've got a history and that he knows how we operate when it comes to negotiating agreements and that type of thing.
All right. My only concern would be any loss of or reimbursement of funds to SQ1 because it wasn't identified initially. So.
Right, and there would be certain procedures and that type of thing that we'd have to deal with in order to make sure that everything worked out. But that would all be negotiated as part of the agreement.
And my assumption also would be that the county and your client would work together to find an appraiser that meets both your needs.
Yes, absolutely. We've done that before. We did the same thing with the state. They were very happy with the way we worked that arrangement.
All right, this is an item that will come back to us to approve an agreement, but this is also a nice item that we need to give them direction on moving forward, correct? So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to move to recommend that Community Services Department staff negotiate an agreement to exchange Washoe County land, a portion of APN 038-134 for land owned by the Riverbend Mobile Home Park and Storage, LLC, portions of APNs 038-11202, 038-11203, 038-11204, and 038-11212 for presentation and possible approval by the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners.
Polly Boardman, second.
You had the easy part. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you. Item 11, discussion and possible action on scheduling a park master plan workshop for week of June 24. Eric.
Thank you. For the record, Eric Rump with Washoe County's Community Services Department. So as you know, we are wrapping up our comprehensive Washoe County Park Master Plan. And so the consultant, Wood Rogers, is prepared to do kind of a facilitated workshop for that last piece. We were targeting the week of June 24th. Time and location are at your pleasure. Staff will be available in the evening. Our consultant will be available in the evening if that's better for you. So we're hoping to see if you were open to that and hopefully get something scheduled. The schedule of that would look like, so we would do a facilitated workshop. They would present basically what I would call kind of a 90% draft plan right now. We'd go through elements and input and kind of gather your feedback on this last push. Then we'd bring it back, the draft final plan. We would bring that to you in August, with ultimately being adopted by the Board of County Commissioners in late August.
All right. I guess I'd ask all of you, starting with you, Paul. Are you available that week?
Sure, I'm supposed to be on vacation, but I could do Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday evening and come back. But the rest of the week, I'm out.
Unfortunately, I'm gone.
I'm around and I'm flexible to whatever the commissioners decide.
Yeah, I have my calendar at home, so I'm not sure, but I think I could probably would probably be fine especially the evening and
Chris?
earlier part of the week.
And I'm going to be embarrassed and say that I missed the date. Which day were you wanting to hold the meeting on?
Anytime that week of June 24th. So we're open. Like I said, staff is available. I've cleared it with everyone, cleared it with our consultant. So whatever day and time, and if that's evening, so be it, we'll be available.
I should be available that week.
When I said I'm gone, I'm actually available on Friday, but I'm not available the first 4 days of the week. I'll be out of town.
Friday would be all right.
I think I heard Polly was gone on Friday.
Yeah, I know. Friday's a bad day for those that work, but
Could we send a poll or a doodle poll to
Yeah.
determine a date?
why don't you look at your calendars at home and send an email to Jen,
Okay.
and or you, or whomever,
Maybe Jen could send an email out to all of us
yeah.
asking availability, and she can tabulate the results.
We
or
can
some
do
such.
that.
We do
I am
have-
available that Friday if that's the day that works best for everybody. so
Yeah, we do have 2 people missing, so that would
Can't
help.
really
I mean,
speak for
I'd certainly like to be there, but
Is there a preference for evening or daytime?
It would be better for me if it were after my working hours.
Okay, that's, we certainly appreciate that. I think
I might be
Kathy
able,
can do that.
I might be able to get back Thursday night for a night meeting.
Your vacation is
Friday
getting
night
shorter and
meetings could be
shorter.
fun, right?
I'm actually working. I'm
Okay.
I'm retired, but I'm working.
Well,
And that's the only week that's available for the workshop?
Looking at the schedule, we could certainly push it to a different week. We were just trying to we've developed a schedule with our consultant, and that's the week we landed on for them to be able to get your feedback put back into the draft and brought back to you by August.
Okay.
And then,
Can I make a suggestion? I mean, 1 week later, on the 2nd, is our normal meeting. Can we do it on our normal meeting as a workshop?
we can.
I'm available.
That leads us to the question, is everybody going to be around that week? Because that's the week of 4th of July.
Yeah, I know, the
And
4th
we-
is 2 days later.
We anticipated there not being a meeting that
Oh.
week, given that's July 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Two.
Or
Second.
first,
It's the second.
yeah.
It'd be the 2nd, Tuesday the 2nd.
well, if we want to have a meeting on July 2nd, I'm available.
That would be all right.
Okay.
I don't know how
Well,
many of
send out the
staff
email,
will-
let's answer. Let's get an email out there and we'll respond
So
individually.
by the head nods, it looks like a lot of people are available July 2nd, though.
Yeah.
Maybe we just do it then. Okay, we will correspond via email and go that route.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Park program of the month, Reno Food Systems. Colleen, are you going to introduce it? No.
Okay, Colleen Wallace Barnum for the record, Park Operations Superintendent. So before, to my left here, we have Lindsay Langsdale and Neil Bertrando. And these two are the heart and soul of Reno Food Systems. They're the ones I primarily am working with on a regular basis for their park farm out at Betsy Collin Donnelly. And they put together a really impressive slideshow with lots of neat pictures. So I'm going to hand it over to them.
Is this the clicker? Hello, my name is Lindsay Langsdale, and I'm a board member of Reno Food Systems and also the manager of the park farm.
I'm Neil Bertrando. I'm also a board member of Reno Food Systems and assist with projects at the park farm and other projects.
So we've been working with Colleen for a couple of years now. This is the location of the park farm, so we're at Betsy Collin Donnelly Park. The 5 acres that's just to the east of the old ranch house there and north of the road, the little road that goes through the park, if you're familiar with that. And this was when we started last year building the property, so this was May of 2018. And I'm just going to take you through some photos of what we've done in the past year out at that property. So that's me doing the first rototill. That site was a pasture for many years, so we've done a lot of work on the soil to try to get the grass out and the weeds out so we can have a nice weed-free plot to grow our vegetables. This is Neil and I putting in some irrigation and barbed wire fence. The south part of that property is leased by a rancher, so he's got his cows out there. So we put in a barbed wire fence to keep the cows out. We did a big irrigation install to bring water to the crops. We're not using the flood irrigation water that's on that property. We do all of our irrigation with drip. And that's us building the barbed wire fence. This was our first planting, so that was in late June of last year. And that's the tomato patch. So people in this picture, it's the rest of our board. We're a 6-person board. And we're also an education farm, so I think in that picture you can see some of our interns. We have 2 high school-aged interns that are part of the Future Farmers of America program. So they work at the Park Farm as part of their community service project. Here's some of the tomatoes later on in the season. We sell our produce to a variety of different restaurants. We have a farm stand right there on site, so neighbors can park on Mayberry and come in and buy produce throughout the summer. We did a farm stand every Wednesday during last summer. And then that's some of the squash we grew, selling it to a restaurant. This is in the West Street Market, so we've sold to all 3 restaurants in the West Street Market. And this is us at the farm stand on a Wednesday night. And here's a picture of some of the produce we grew. So anything you'd see at a farmer's market, we were growing probably about 20 to 25 different varieties of produce. We're not certified organic, but we grow in an organic way, so no synthetic fertilizers or pesticides or any of that. So you can see we had eggplants, kale, chard, turnips, carrots, peppers, tomatoes, all kinds of stuff. And we also regularly donated any produce that we weren't able to sell at the farm stand mostly to St. Vincent's Soup Kitchen. They make a meal every day for between 200 and 500 people at their site on 4th Street. So they'll take anything that's dinged up, or a zucchini that turned out to be the size of a small child. They'll take that and make a stew out of it. So maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, we had a load that we'd take down to St. Vincent's for their meal program. And this is in the fall of last year. We had a big pumpkin patch that we opened up to the neighborhood, so neighborhood kids were able to come and pick out a pumpkin in October of last year. And we're gonna do a little bit bigger pumpkin patch this year. The neighborhood seemed to really like that, and do a little harvest fest in the fall. This is the farm dog helping to collect leaves. So we collected leaves and added that to the soil to try to help our organic matter in the soil, and tilled that in. And we had a neighbor with his drone take some pictures for us. So this was in May of this year. So you can see what we had done. That's 2 plots. You can see we covered a lot of the grass with those big black tarps to try to get the grass and the weed seeds under control. So all of the winter we had those big tarps out. And this year we moved those tarps and planted out 2 more plots. So we grew from 1/3 of an acre plot last year to 3 of them this year. And this is the beginning of our 2019 season. So this was probably in April, these pictures. You can see our garlic growing. We did another irrigation expansion to water the next 2 plots. We also got goats, so we have 3 goats that are gonna help with the weeding. And these were when we first got them, they were babies and they were really cute. And this is just some of the work we did this spring. We purchased a large order of compost to add to the soil. That's us laying out some irrigation there. And we have a really excellent crew of volunteers and interns that work with us most days of the week. And this is them spreading compost in our plot number 2 last week. And then I'll let Neil explain this slide. So this is kind of a site development plan that we've submitted to Colleen and the county for what the site will eventually include.
Thanks, Lindsay. So this is the plan that we submitted to Colleen to basically expand to the rest of the site, planting out with fruit trees, pollinator hedgerows for habitat, berry bushes, other perennial plants, which we would be looking at planting next year. It also shows the plots, north is to the left and south is to the right. It shows the 2 more vegetable plots that we'll be planning on expanding to next year as well, and the irrigation as well as our road and access areas. And that's all we have. Any questions or thoughts?
Comments, questions?
Well, I was going to tease you guys for being responsible for the cold snap in May because you were out planting before the snow was off of pea vines, so.
I did not plant a single tomato till,
Good.
till Sunday.
All right, no, I live in the area, and it's nice to see that part of that pasture is being used for growing things. It is good to see you guys out there. Is the stand still going to be on Wednesdays this year?
Yes, we'll do a Wednesday farm stand and a Thursday farmer's market, the Riverside Farmer's Market that's down at McKinley. And potentially a second farm stand day, we'll see how it goes. And we're also working on a mobile farm stand. So we got this old ice cream truck that we want to load up and then drive through some neighborhoods as though it was ice cream, but we're tricking the kids and it's going to be produce. So
idea.
it depends on our progress with that project. And if
Do you
we're
think
gonna-
they'll notice the difference between ice cream and carrots?
Not if we make carrot ice cream.
There we go.
There you go.
That works. Any other comments?
No, it's a
Polly?
wonderful
Oh,
project.
excuse me.
I mean, it's just a really quite exciting, I think.
Thank you.
Kudos.
From where are you getting most of your funding?
We are a nonprofit, so we have a grant from the Department of Agriculture that pays for a lot of the labor. And we're continuously fundraising. We do some fundraising events. In the summer, we've applied for some other grant funding for our internship program, so we'd like to be able to pay the interns at some point. And
Private donations.
private
We have
donations.
Private donations and also in-kind donations. Several companies have donated lots of materials, like all the fencing material was donated by Toll Fencing. Most of the irrigation supplies were donated by Western Nevada Supply. So
Cool.
we've been really benefited from local businesses contributing as well.
Cool, thank you.
Well, Lindsay, Neil, you are so dedicated to this kind of a project, and it's really nice to see it progressing the way that you had envisioned it, and it's a great benefit to the people of the county. So thank you very much for making our land useful for others.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Colleen Wallace Barnum for the record. Just a few things to note. They partner with AACT High School. That's where you get a lot of your interns from. So that's kind of a neat, for that program at that school. There's also a lot of school kids that walk from this neighborhood through the park to Roy Gum Elementary and, are there watching gardening happening, which is a really neat thing for kids to see. So just another added benefit to the community.
Great. Another
As
Washoe
an
County.
education farm, we have it, the property is open, so we encourage people to stop by and ask questions about growing. We host a garden club quarterly, so that's on site, and we have a potluck, and people can come, and we usually do a presentation of some other gardening project going on in town that people can learn about, and then it's just kind of a networking time and a tour of the farm, so we are always there to help people learn about growing and just have access to learning what a farm is like in town.
Colleen, it's correct to say it's, that the remainder of the pasture is closed for the duration of the growing season as well, right?
Correct. The cows will be out.
I haven't seen cows yet, but I'll keep an eye out.
The fence guy was there yesterday.
Was he? Okay.
I think they're
It'll be a good year for cows because there'll be lots of water coming out of the irrigation this year, so.
They're waiting for it to warm up. Another great Washoe County project. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for your dedication.
Thank you.
Dragons, the Lost World. Who's making that presentation?
Hello, Doug and everyone from the Park Commission. My name, for the record, is Christy Lyde. I'm the curator at the Wilbur D. May Museum, and I'm here today to, let me see, I don't know exactly how to use this, talk to you about our most recent exhibit, Dragons, but I wanted Dragons, the Lost World. And I was hoping that some of you may have come, but I brought a few pictures in case you haven't. But ever since 1992, in the second addition to the museum, we've been bringing large exhibits. Originally, we were going to do something like permanent exhibits and not change them, but we researched it at that time and thought it would be funner for the public to do something different every year, and it's been an interesting journey. We choose those projects from whatever is on the market. We go to museum exhibits. We travel around to museums, and we get recommendations from the general public on what might be good for the public here. We wanted to complement the Washoe County School District curriculum, but they're not the only people that come. And as a matter of fact, we get the outlying schools mostly. So they come from Carson, Gerlach, all sorts of places. So more than 50% of the school kids don't come from Washoe County. They come from out of the area. And we get most of our museum's income from that exhibit. It is supported by the May Foundation. So, it's a win-win for them and for us. And throughout the years, we've done many different things. We've done live animals, rainforest animals. We've done snakes, live snakes, 3 times, I think, live wolves, medium-sized cats. When we did the bear show, we had bear cubs, Thelma and Louise. We've done sea animal touch tanks. And we've done these from many, many different people, the Living Science Foundation. We found a person out in Red Rock that actually has wolves out there. And he came, we found out about him when we originally did our bear show. And he brought the bear cubs every day from Cold Springs. So that was an adventure. We've done grossology, animal grossology, King Tut, treasures, Antarctica, and we did do a different dragon show. We put the dragon show together a few years. It was a dragon and dinosaur show. And we've done it with many different exhibit companies, Science Museum of Minnesota, Marty Martin, WonderWorks. And in mid-January this year, we did the Dragon Show. It was a long show. It was 3.5 months. We had 15,400 visitors. We were able to make the best revenue in the gift store ever. And it was the 3rd exhibit we did we rented from Stage 9 Exhibits. And they're an exhibit company out of Sacramento. They do exhibits all over. They have done exhibits in California, of course, and also in China. So they are a large company, and we really have enjoyed working with them. They come with a crew that puts it together, which is very, very helpful. But we also put a lot of murals on the wall that make it better. So it's been a good experience with them. We did Toytopia, the Hall of Heroes with them, and we're looking forward to doing other exhibits. This is just a few pictures of the show. And in the background, you'll see a lot of really interesting murals, and this is the artist from our staff that does the murals. And this is the exhibit team and our staff that put it all together. So it's a nice big team that comes in and does that. And let's see, we do have 2 other contracts in the works with Stage 9. This year, 2020, we'll be doing Animation Academy, and it's all about cartoons from the development to now. And then in 2021, we'll be doing dinosaurs. And this is just to show you how popular the snake show was. So that's
Kid holding a sword.
that's when we did wolves. So, are there any questions?
Any questions?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, it was good. It was a good one. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Christy. Thank you. We are now at item 13, park reports. Parks reports. Yeah, everybody left. You're on.
For the record, Eric Crump with Washington County's Community Services Department. You should have in your packet some highlights from our various parks. I'll just hit on a few. The very successful Celtic celebration was held at Bartley Ranch on May 18th. They had about 1,500 people in attendance. Bowers Mansion Tours opened on May 11th. Rancho San Rafael hosted the 10th annual Polio Purple Pinky Trail Run on May 4th. There was about 1,500 people. Rancho continues to be kind of the hot spot for a lot of the runs around the area. And then the Lazy Five Summer Music Series will begin on June 12th. We are obviously into wedding reservations season throughout our park system. And this month opened up with scheduled wedding on May 25th at the Burke Garden in May Arboretum. And that's actually a recently upgraded garden. So there are other highlights. I encourage you to read through those. And if you have any questions, I can certainly answer those. And as a highlight that's actually not on your report, but I just heard that AB 84 passed. So passed last night. So good information.
Any questions?
Oh, I do have it's not entirely on the topic, but I'm curious where the county is with the smoke-free and where the signage is, if the county's approved that, since you talked about weddings and events and stuff.
Great question. So as you recall, the Board of County Commissioners supported the concept of becoming smoke-free. Currently in our language right now, we can and are smoke-free through a director's update. We have signage that is on its way. I believe it was ordered maybe a couple weeks ago, and that will be placed. We have consistent signage with the City of Reno and the City of Sparks. And then there will be a forthcoming kind of update to our Chapter 95, which is a super heavy lift. But the signage will be coming, and Washoe County parks will be kind of officially smoke-free when the signs are up.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? I do have one on the volunteers. Where are you seeing most of your volunteers coming from now?
It's a tough question. You know, there's a lot of interest. Certainly, the university, we get a lot of volunteers, and then mostly corporate kind of volunteers. I mean, there's still the occasional individuals, but it's mostly corporate. With the economy doing what it is right now, I think that's an easy one for local corporations and then the university.
But mostly project specific?
Yes.
And Adopt a Park programs, are they going up or down or?
Status quo, I haven't seen a big interest, although I don't think we've marketed them all that well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Eric. And I assume you covered all four of those items, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. 5 items, I see, go off on the next page. Director's report, you're covering that as well.
Yeah, Dave had to leave, Assistant County Manager Solara. So there was one item, I believe, on the May 28th Board of County Commission agenda where we extended a funding agreement with the City of Sparks. It's funding from WC1 to increase parking out at Golden Eagle Regional Park. So they're just not quite through with that project and needed to extend that by a year. So we extended it to June 30th, 2020.
You didn't comment on it, but I wanted to, can I go back to? Yeah, thank you. On the park reports, and I haven't gone out there lately, and I'm sorry, Swan Lake, is that still a viable project, or is it flooded like everything else in Lemon Valley?
So, yeah, we experienced some significant flooding during the flood of 2016, 2017, and the subsequent wet years that we've had. Swan Lake, most of the trail system out at Swan Lake is actually underwater. It's under the lake. So assuming the lake recedes at some point in time, those trails will still be there. The boardwalks have been challenging. They're kind of reached the end of the pole system that they sit on. We're just trying to kind of protect those in place right now.
And I would assume they're getting close to the end of their useful life as well.
Yeah, they actually hold up pretty well. The wind is not, it's tough on them, especially when they're at the end of their poles, but like I said, we're trying to protect them in place right now.
Thank you. Commissioners' comments. Start over here, Polly. Any?
I guess I was just thinking about these May Museum exhibits and things like that and your volunteers. Do we have like email distributions and things that go out to the community that, like, say our exhibits or our activities are happening? I feel like I get a lot of emails for every single thing, but I don't think I get the Washoe County one, so I was just wondering if that's out there and if it's advertised and, okay. I just need to get on there and sign up then. Okay, thank you. I don't have any.
Go ahead. Nothing? Chris, anything?
My dog and I went out on the hike for hounds that Natural Paws put on out at Galena. We had a great time. I think it's the third year they've done it, and I just wanted to thank staff for whatever role they played in helping them continue that, and I hope it'll continue for many more years. That's all I have.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, skip over you.
No, it's all right. No, I wanted to thank the May Museum for the lovely, you have done the watercolor society, and that's something that we've enjoyed for the last couple of years, so I hope you'll continue with that. So, yeah, it's very nice. Appreciate it.
The only comments I had, just hopefully we can work out a date for the park planning workshop, where as many of us can be there as possible, as that is very important to the future of the park system. So that, and just another note, having the information up front is really helpful for us. We really appreciate it. The one thing that I will mention again, just for the future, it's not that it hasn't happened or has happened, but future projects, ribbon cuttings, dedications, new exhibits, things like that, just a general email out, not for any response, any participation on our part, but just a general email out would really be beneficial for me personally. And I assume all of you would like to attend if you could. All right, with that said, public comments. Are there any public comments? Okay, we are adjourned.